So I wasn't expecting to get some dry weather to boil sap today into maple syrup. We had some snow this morning, but it's already melting. It got up to 10 degrees, believe it or not. I couldn't believe the thermometer actually, because it wasn't calling for that. But it's warm enough that the sap is running. It looks like the snow has mostly moved south of here. Big band going across, so I have the opportunity to get going on the maple syrup, even though it's late in the day. Might as well boil it because I've got it now. Anyway, the point I wanted to make was this fire. I have to get it burning. I get some hot coals and then keep loading this greener wood that I cut down recently from that maple tree. I can put that on there and it'll keep the fire going without going through good firewood. Point I want to make quickly though is this piece right here was from an oak tree that I cut down from back here behind the outhouse back in I don't know when that was, maybe December, or maybe even earlier, November possibly. But it was still standing, no bark left on it, and it was so dry that it was actually too dry for in the cabin in the wood stove. So that's the thing about heating with wood in a wood stove or a fireplace, is that it can be too green, so too wet, so it burns too cold and creates a lot of creosote, just doesn't burn efficiently. But on the other hand, your wood can also be too dry. If it's seasoned too long and it's standing like this oak was, it's so dry that it was putting out an immense amount of heat, and I couldn't even damper that stove down even when the gaskets were in better shape than they are now. It was unbearably hot in there, so I had to kind of balance out the pieces of oak with some slightly less seasoned maple and ash, I think. So like I said, too dry. Oak is already a very dense and creates a lot of BTUs per unit compared to other woods, so it's already a very hot burning wood. So it's already a very hot burning wood, but when it's super dry, it's actually a little bit too hot for the application that I had. Of course, right back into the smoke again. Just wanted to explain a couple of things that I did not explain in the last video. If you want to watch the last week's video, it's about 25 minutes long, and it shows my wife and I here collecting all the sap from the trees, 25 trees, and then boiling it down into about 1.5 liters, so less than half a gallon of maple syrup as a result. Now, it's been a very poor season. We first tapped the trees March 3rd. The sap started flowing because the temperatures were above zero during the day on March 2nd. We tapped on March 3rd, got a little bit in the pails, and then the next day it just turned freezing cold again and didn't start running again until the 29th of March. So then we collected on the 29th and boiled on the 30th. So we boiled on the 30th of March, which was in last week's video. We had not even a 20-gallon pail, which is what these are. I need to get some sap in there right now. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, without the smoke getting in my face again, is that boiling sap down into syrup, maple is about 40 to 1. I think birch is about 60 to 1. But maple, sugar maple in particular, is the most concentrated form of sugar in the trees around here. So about 40 to 1, which means I need 40 gallons of this maple sap, pure maple sap, to make pure maple syrup. So I have, these are 20-gallon pails. I don't even have a full one. I might have barely one full one. So 20 gallons. By the time I boil this down, I'm going to end up with half a gallon of syrup. It's barely worth it, but the way the season's going, I have no choice. Like I said, March 3rd we tapped, and today is April 3rd? It's Tuesday, yeah, April 3rd, which means a month later I've only collected about maybe 15 gallons the other day, so maybe 35 gallons of sap total out of 25 buckets. I should have 3-4 times that by now. Problem is, being early April now, it could turn warm and stay warm, and the sap's going to come up fast, and it's going to turn bitter. It's no good after the temperatures, including the nighttime temperatures, stay up above freezing, so 0 Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit. So it's going to be a very short season for us here. Further south, like even an hour or two south, I think the season's probably been pretty good for them. But here on this dome, on this higher elevation around Algonquin Park, the winter just holds on, hangs on longer. So lots of snow in the bush here. Further south, 0 snow on the ground. So we're just in a little climate here that makes it a little bit more challenging, but when it flows, the sap flows, it flows well typically. This is just an unusual year, although it's been usual lately, where we get these early fake spring thaws and then it turns cold again. We end up with a late spring, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen again, where ice out on the lakes around here is early May again. Historically it's been in April, like 3rd week of April, but on average. But climate change, whether you believe it or not, it's changing around here. So I'm going to get this sap on, take advantage of the no snow and no rain, and see if I can get some of this stuff boiled right down to, what did I say, 20, so half a gallon. So it's at 2 liters, 2 measly liters of syrup. And factor that ice in, is leaving less than 20 gallons here. You would not want to add big chunks of ice, frozen sap, into the tank if it was already heated, because it would cool the sap rate down again. So typically if you had a bigger production here than I have, then what you would do is have a separate tank, or it can have a sort of a screen or a sieve that sits over top of this. You can set the ice in that and let it melt down into the tank. But I don't have enough taps out, or produce enough syrup to bother having all that equipment, that extra equipment. I do have this tank, then I have the finishing tank that I use on the wood stove. You would not want to boil this inside, because the amount of moisture and the sticky moisture that you would fill the cabin with, or your house if you were doing it at home, would like peel the paint off the walls or the wallpaper, because it's just too much moisture going up into the air, too much steam. So I boil it out here, get it down to about the boiling point of, well, within a couple of degrees of the boiling point of maple syrup. So the boiling point of maple syrup is 7 degrees Fahrenheit above the boiling point of water. So that thermometer that I just put in, that has to be calibrated. So I'll boil because water boils at a little bit different temperature everywhere depending on your elevation and your air pressure. And here I think it's about 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So because water boils at that temperature, I put the thermometer into a boiling kettle of water, and then I adjust it so that it reads 0, and then I know the syrup is finished, ready to store once it reaches 7 degrees above what is set at 0. So 219 degrees basically syrup boils at. So I'll get that within a few degrees here, and then I'll transfer it to the finishing pot, put it on the wood stove, probably end up boiling it right till late tonight, and then I'll store it in the jar. So the reason, that stuff that I made the other last week on film, so a few days ago, I didn't boil that long enough, so I didn't get it all the way up to that temperature. The reason you need to get it to that temperature is for long-term storage. If it's too watery, it'll actually go bad just stored in jars like I have it. So typically what you would do, and what I'm going to do with this batch, is to get it right up to that boiling point, maybe even higher, up to like 220, 221, so that it is warmer, or so that it's thicker. And then when it's in that jar, and the mason jar that mason jar lid pops down, it's going to be storable on a shelf for years. I've got some probably from 3 years ago still. A couple of things I just overlooked. So the other reason I collected, I'm crying from all the smoke in my eyes. So the other reason I'm boiling today, despite the risk of that snowstorm heading back north and coming across here, there's a potential that we're supposed to get 8 or 10 inches, like 25 centimeters of snow between tonight and tomorrow. It might be snowed in here, but I need to collect that sap because it's been so warm. What happens, it'll actually ferment in the pails on the tree, and then it's no good. So because it's relatively high in sugar, it will ferment as it warms up. So you can't just leave it for too long. You have to boil it or discard it. Hey, Cali. Got it, eh? Hold on. You ate already, Cali? Holy, that's good. I heard you like hamburgers too. I'll give you a little bit. Thanks for watching that video. That's a good example of what I do up here at the cabin every week. I get a lot of questions about success and happiness and fulfillment and everything else, and I think a lot of people get from my channel and from my lifestyle that I am a pretty happy person. I feel fulfilled. Feel like I have a lot of meaning in my life, and I feel like I've had a successful life so far. I turned 48 this week actually, and you know, I've had some success in business and failures in business, and you know, financially I'm doing well. I have a great family, happy marriage, been married for 22 years this year, and I'm just generally living the life that I want. I feel free, I feel fulfilled, and I'm passionate about what I'm doing here, and I don't feel like I'm making too many sacrifices, but I don't want to give the impression that I don't sacrifice. One of our greatest challenges is dealing with that self-awareness and knowing that we have a limited lifespan, we have a limited period of good health, and probably a limited period of happiness and stability. We tend to have major ups and downs, and some people have a lot more downs than ups, and other people are fortunate and they have ups, but there's still this lack of fulfillment, I think, and deep happiness and security and so on. So to me, what I do up here at the cabin is that I try to, in this whole lifestyle really, I try to kind of offset some of that insecure feeling by creating a lifestyle of security, which includes debt-free living as much as possible, putting things away for the future, and having some kind of financial stability. That's what gives me security, and it reduces the anxiety, and it reduces the stress that I carry with me every day, because I feel like if I have my future taken care of, I can really focus more on the present, and I don't have to make quite as many sacrifices in the present. So the more I develop these systems or get my life into a secure position, get debt paid off, and deal with all those little things that nag at you every day, like tasks or chores that you've been putting off, or relationships that you haven't been maintaining. I feel like when I do that, when I put that little extra effort in today, and it might be just a small little extra effort or a small period of time each day to take care of those things, then my future feels more secure and reduces the stress and anxiety. I'm at that point finally right now where I'm kind of doing the finishing touches, but things that don't absolutely need to be done, like these chairs, are more of let's reward myself by spending some time making something comfortable, even though these chairs might take me a day or two or three to make each one. And the benefit, of course, is that when I'm finished building these chairs, I get to sit around comfortably with my wife around the fire and enjoy the fruits of my labor. So sacrificing my time and effort today building these chairs that I could just go buy somewhere, and you know, I'd rather just put in the extra effort and do it myself and be fulfilled, and created some kind of confidence that I'm able to build something else and be more self-reliant. So that's it for this video. Really appreciate you watching. Take care, have a great week, and I'll see you up at the cabin next week.